So today we're diving into a topic that is way more complex than it might seem on the surface: ADHD. We're going to start with a super common experience, take a look at the standard treatment, and then get into a pretty surprising scientific twist that raises some really big questions. Let's do it. Okay, so it all starts with a feeling. A feeling I bet is really familiar to a lot of you. You know, that frustrating moment when you had something you needed to do, but because it's not literally right in front of your eyes, it's just gone from your mind. Here's a perfect example, which comes from the healthcare platform Tree. Picture this. You wrap a gift, you put a bow on it, and you set it by the door. But then you throw your coat over it. Later, you run your errands, come back home, and there it is. The gift you completely forgot to mail. The gift itself didn't vanish, but your plan to mail it? It sure did. Right, so this whole out of sight, out of mind thing is way more than just being a little forgetful. It's often the key experience that sends people down the rabbit hole of trying to understand attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD. Now, there's actually a clinical term for knowing that things still exist even when you can't see them. It's called object permanence. It's a huge developmental milestone for babies. You know, it's the reason a game of peekaboo eventually stops being so mind-blowing. You figure out pretty quick that the face is still there, just behind the hands. And this is a really, really important distinction to make. Adults with ADHD do not have a problem with true object permanence. Of course, they know the gift they forgot still exists. Instead, when people in the ADHD community use this phrase, they're talking about something else entirely. It's informal shorthand for a serious challenge with working memory and attention. It's not about knowing the object is there, it's about holding on to the plan or the intention that goes with it. And you can imagine the real-world consequences can be huge. Yeah, it can lead to forgetting to pay a bill or losing your keys, but it can also cause real friction in relationships, right? When an unanswered text is seen as you not caring, when really it was just a lapse in your working memory. Okay, so what is actually going on in the brain here? And what do we usually do about it? Well, the conversation almost always lands on one key player: dopamine. The general idea has always been that a lot of the core symptoms of ADHD, the inattention, the trouble with motivation, are tied back to issues with the brain's dopamine system. Dopamine is absolutely crucial for things like reward, focus, and just regulating our attention. And this understanding leads to a pretty standard treatment path. A patient comes in describing these out of sight, out of mind issues. A clinician will often prescribe a stimulant medication, like Ritalin. The goal is to basically boost the amount of available dopamine in the brain, which in the short term helps improve focus and makes it easier to, remember to mail that gift. And for decades, that's pretty much been the story. It works. But what happens when scientists start to look a little closer at the long-term effects of this treatment on the brain itself? This is where a really surprising study completely changes the conversation. So, researchers at Brookhaven National Laboratory started asking a really big question. Besides helping with symptoms in the moment, does this treatment leave a lasting physical mark on the brain's dopamine system? And the answer they got was a resounding yes. Get this, after just 1 year of treatment with methylphenidate, adults with ADHD had, on average, a 24% increase in the density of their dopamine transporters. So think of these transporters as little vacuum cleaners that tidy up used dopamine. The treatment was basically telling the brain to build a way, way bigger cleanup grow. But here's the kicker. This is the part of the study that really turns things on its head. On the left, you see that before treatment, the researchers found no real difference in the number of these vacuum cleaners between adults with ADHD and the control group. This kind of throws a wrench in the simple dopamine deficit idea. But then look to the right. After a year of medication, the levels in the treated group were now significantly higher than the controls. The treatment didn't just restore some old balance, it created a brand new one. And the lead author, Dr. Jean-Jacques Wang, summed it up perfectly. He basically warned that we have to be super careful. What scientists might have thought for years was a biological sign of ADHD, these high levels of dopamine transporters, could actually just be a result of the treatment itself. Now, this scientific discovery becomes even more profound when you zoom out and look at what's been happening in society at large. Some data from a public health report in Australia shows just how huge this treatment has become. I mean, the trend is just staggering. In 1990, in this particular region, only 21 adults started on stimulants for the first time. By 1998, that number peaked at over 1,000 new adults in a single year. That's an absolutely meteoric rise. And this wasn't just about more people in general. This was a real societal shift.
The actual rate of treatment, the proportion of the entire adult population on these drugs, jumped from less than 1 in 10,000 to 7 in 10,000 in just a decade.
So who were all these people? Well, that's the other wild part. By 2003, two-thirds, a full 67% of all adults on medication had been diagnosed and treated for the very first time as adults. This wasn't just kids growing up and staying on their meds. This was a whole new wave of adult diagnoses.
Okay, let's step back for a second and put all these pieces together. We have this common, frustrating experience, a treatment that we now know physically changes the brain's chemistry, in a massive societal trend of more and more adults using that very treatment.
So it really all boils down to this. The science suggests that long-term treatment doesn't just put things back to some normal baseline. It creates an entirely new biochemical state in the brain. And that leaves us with a pretty profound question to think about. What is the ultimate goal of treatment? Is it to make an ADHD brain function like a non-ADHD brain? Or is it to build a new medicated brain, one that's fundamentally different from where it started?